All right, man, peace. So for those of you brothers that follow the NBA, you know that this season is going to be a very important season for the league. And what's even going to be more important for many of the players of the NBA and the NBA itself will be the 2019 offseason. You're going to have some extremely big names changing teams. There's going to be a shift in power, most likely. Even more of the prominent players in the league are going to be going from the Eastern Conference to the Western Conference, possibly. And there are going to be some prominent players in the Eastern Conference that may go to some rivals of the teams that they are currently on. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
ESPN.com summer forecast continues today. Looking ahead to next summer, when again several stars will be available, including Kawhi, Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, KD, and Klay Thompson. So let's start with Kawhi, guys. Our forecast has the Lakers as the favorite with nearly 58% of the vote, followed by the Raptors and the Clippers. So Royce, where do you believe Kawhi Leonard will be playing in the 2019-20 season? Give me the...
Let me say this very quickly. I agree with this poll. As a matter of fact, I will probably put the Lakers to have an even higher percentage chance to land Kawhi Leonard. But we're going to see how things go over the course of this NBA regular season. If we see the Lakers make any major moves to remove the seeming glut that they have in the backcourt and at the small forward position, we'll know that they're maneuvering for Kawhi Leonard. If we hear rumblings that the Toronto Raptors are considering trading Kawhi Leonard at the trading deadline, we'll know that Masai Ujiri feels as if he has not been able to make any serious inroads with Kawhi and or his team, and he does not believe that Kawhi is going to re-sign or re-up with the Toronto Raptors. So we're going to find out. But it would not shock me if Kawhi Leonard decides to re-sign with the Toronto Raptors, for the simple fact that he seems to be a creature of habit. And the only way that he's truly going to move or allow himself to be advised to move is if he feels uncomfortable in his environment. Kawhi comes off to me a lot like a Paul George. I think that they have very similar personalities. Now, Kawhi is far more reticent than even a Paul George, but I think that Kawhi Leonard can be won over, especially if he believes that the environment that he's in will be conducive to his own inner peace. I think that for certain players, inner peace will trump any type of illustrious aspect that other teams may be trying to reel them in with. We've already seen Magic Johnson fail with the Paul George maneuver, and it would not shock me if he also fails with the Kawhi Leonard maneuver. But as of right now, I would give the Lakers a 65 to maybe even 75% chance to land Kawhi, if for no other reason that Toronto is a new territory for him. Canada is normally not a place that top-notch free agents want to stay, especially since Kawhi was not drafted there. He's unfamiliar with the environment. But if they put their best foot forward, and if Kyle Lowry and many of the other more notable players on the team are able to convince Kawhi that Toronto is a place where he'll have a viable opportunity to be a world champion, and he's comfortable with the protocol of the coaching staff there, I think that there is an outside chance that he could resign.
Give me the Clippers, George. The smart money says the Lakers because of all the connection there and basically what happened this recent summer. I don't want to rule out the Raptors. There's already some positive vibe coming out of Toronto about Kawhi Leonard and the impression they made. You see the picture. He's actually smiling in the picture, which you...
I don't think that Kawhi was smiling there. I think that he has something stuck in his teeth. I don't think Kawhi smiles unless it's by accident.
feels very important. But for me, it's the Los Angeles Clippers because, I think that they can provide him what he wants, playing in Los Angeles.
They are a dark horse. I just don't think that Kawhi is going to go to a team in LA that's not going to give him a high-level chance of winning unless Jerry West can work his magic. You never know. He certainly is the brightest dark horse in the history of dark horses, Jerry West is. Never put anything past Jerry West. He built the LA Lakers into a monster. He built the Golden State Warriors into a monster. I've never seen him fail. He was great even when he was running the Memphis Grizzlies. So we'll see what he does with the LA Clippers. They certainly have an outside chance. I'm just not sure if Kawhi's going to go there to be the alpha. He may go there if Kevin Durant decides to go there. Who knows? We may have to consider that Kevin Durant may sign with the Clippers, because I do think that at some point he wants to go to LA, but it may not be to team up with LeBron. We'll see. Once again, that's why the oncoming 2019 NBA offseason is so interesting.
Playing in Southern California, while also providing him the face of a franchise. And you go to the Lakers, and it's going to be difficult to have that. I don't know how much that matters to Kawhi Leonard, but if it does, the Clippers can kind of bridge the gap for him and give him what he wants.
Kevin? I mean, let's just start by saying this is going to be one of the toughest predictions because we don't know a lot about him. He's inscrutable. He isn't associated with a major agency where things leak. He has his own camp and is somewhat isolated.
All those reasons are why Kawhi Leonard was demonized so much over the past few months. Because you guys were unable to make any major inroads. You were pretty much unable to break any major stories in regards to Kawhi. You were also unable to break him mentally and psychologically, as was his former handler, Greg Popovich. So you guys just resorted to making up stories.
I like the Raptors because I think incumbents always have an inherent advantage.
Okay.
They get 8 months to sell. Masai Ujiri is good at conveying the sort of the vision and the mission of the organization. I just think that he'll probably succeed there. It is the Eastern Conference, and I say that with absolutely no confidence, but I do like incumbents when it comes to the free agency.
I like the Clippers because I grew up in Southern California. I just don't think that weather is something that you necessarily want to tolerate. I don't think that you want to do it after all, but I will say this. I like the incumbency argument, and also they have a great medical guy, that Scotsman out there. That's how you can know that I forgot his name because I'm just referring to him. Like,
right.
Yeah,
but Alex?
Yes, exactly. Braveheart out there, fixing guys with his sword. I don't know, but he has a great reputation, so perhaps that will be the reason why Kawhi stays in Toronto.
I think the Clippers are the team too, and I think for a number of the reasons that you guys illustrated, but particularly because at the end of the day, I know Clipper fans don't like to hear this, but they are quote-unquote second-class citizens in Los Angeles.
Let me also say this about the Clippers, because they are a dark horse, but there is a storyline that they may consider leaving LA. So will Kawhi Leonard and his team want to sign with a team that's located in LA for the primary reason that they're located in LA when there's a strong possibility or that there are hints that Steve Ballmer is considering moving the team? I'm sure that that's a conversation that Kawhi and his team will have with Jerry West when that time comes.
It's a Lakers town, but I think Kawhi will like that. The spotlight will always be on the Lakers, and he doesn't necessarily have to deal with the stuff that comes with all of that with the Clippers. Now, and he's got a good infrastructure. Doc Rivers, Lawrence Frank, Jerry West, right? I think that they're poised potentially to add 2 potential max free agents. All that stuff makes a ton of sense. If he wants Southern California and then also be able to chill, I think the Clippers are the team. So
Kawhi Leonard would also give the Clippers that vaunted wing that they've been searching for the past almost 10 years. Kawhi was the player that they were missing all throughout the Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan years. He was that missing piece. Unfortunately, the potentiality for him to end up with the Clippers is going to be long after they're all gone.
So, next we've got another all-star and former NBA champion, Kyrie Irving, who can be a free agent next summer. The forecast has the Knicks barely over the Celtics as the team that he's most likely to play for. So, Ethan, do you agree that Kyrie could be headed to the Knicks?
Let me say this very quickly in regards to Kyrie. I've already done a video on Kyrie possibly heading to the Knicks. Remember that the Knicks were one of the teams on his list. The Celtics were never on his list. I believe the teams on Kyrie's list were the Knicks, the Spurs, and the Timberwolves, if I remember correctly. If I'm wrong about that, one of you brothers, please correct me. I think that he's been able to engraft himself into the Boston Celtics, but I still believe that there may be a little too much young talent on that team for him to be fully comfortable, but we'll see. If the Celtics are able to strongly challenge for a title, I don't see how Kyrie can leave. I really don't. I think that if they get to the finals or even win the finals, you know what, they probably have a better chance of re-signing Kyrie if they were to have lost the NBA Finals than if they won. Because if Kyrie wins with the Celtics, with the mentality that he has, he's going to be like, mission accomplished. I'm heading to the Knicks now. I'm 26 years old. I'm going to spend the next 4 years with New York and then reassess after that contract is up. That's the modern NBA, and people are going to have to get used to that. Those days of Michael Jordan being with the Bulls for 13 years and Kobe Bryant with the Lakers for 20 years and Hakeem with the Rockets for 15 years, that many years, those days are long gone. They are long gone. Especially with top-notch players, it's going to be very rare that you're going to have players that remain with one team for their entire career. I think that Anthony Davis may have the potential to break that mold and maybe a Russell Westbrook, but for the most part, you're going to see a lot of the top-notch players going from team to team.
Knicks.
Doesn't it just seem so Knicks? This seems so Knicksy, doesn't it?
It does.
It's a guy who's a big-name scorer, big-name one-on-one scorer.
You know, I partially agree with his assessment that this storyline comes off very Knicksy, quote-unquote, meaning the Knicks are always making a big hullabaloo about who they're going to sign. They always seem to be the quote-unquote franchise on the come-up, but it just feels different right now with them. They have a coach, David Fizdale, who's highly respected amongst the players. Supposedly, James Dolan states that he's going to take a step back in regards to being too hands-on as the owner. And I think that this is going to be a make-or-break season for the Knicks in regards to their off-season, and really even their regular season. What is Porzingis going to do after he comes back from injury? I doubt if they're going to bring him back with more than 30 games left because they want to put themselves in a good position in regards to the draft. And also, they want to see how good this kid Knox is that they drafted and open up their salary cap primarily for Kyrie and maybe even a Kevin Durant. And if not Kevin Durant, a Jimmy Butler. But I have a hard time believing that the Knicks are going to finish the 2019 offseason without reeling in at least one big fish, but we'll find out.
Perhaps on the wrong side of some injuries, but man, he's an all-star, and they could be getting him at the exact wrong time. It's just hard for me to see anything as Knicksy as
Kyrie just be out there playing with dudes.
is this scenario, and considering the Celtics have done so well without him, I that's my best guess.
You know, as you say that, Ethan, it reminds me almost the same vibe that Carmelo Anthony had when he went to New York as the savior of the franchise. And this
Well, I never believed that bullshit for a minute. Once again, I never wanted the Knicks to make that trade. I'm not even a Knicks fan. But I've never been someone who looked at Carmelo Anthony's game and thought of him as a team changer or a culture changer or someone who's going to elevate the level of your team. Carmelo was not the number one option on a championship level team, never was, even in his prime. In my view, he's never been someone that I would consider anything more than a second option. At best, really on a championship level team, a third option, which is what he is right now. And I'm not even quite sure if he's that on a championship level team.
isolation scorer that can carry you. It kind of feels that same way. I've got Kyrie, I think, staying in Boston. I think he'll stay put. I think that he can check a lot of boxes there. And
I agree. I hope that I'm wrong. I would like to see Kyrie come to the Knicks, but I have the very faint suspicion that he is going to go back to Boston because I don't think that they're going to win a championship this year, and it's going to put him in the position where he's going to feel like he has unfinished business, even though I would prefer to see him on the New York Knicks, but who knows? Kyrie's kind of all over the place, so who knows what the hell he's going to do.
For him, in terms of a career, like Kevin said, you got the incumbent. It's not as if he wasn't successful there last year. His star can rise. He could win an MVP in Boston. I think he'll stay there.
Yeah, and this is an incumbent that's going to win by like 50% of the vote, right? Or 75% of the vote. My best intel is that the Celtics and Kyrie have a pretty good mutual understanding that he wasn't going to trade in the offseason and that there are long-term aspirations for both parties. Anything can happen over the course of an 8-month season, but I kind of like him staying.
See, I like the Knicks. Producer Steve, I know he's not here today. He's a big Knicks fan. So I think he's going there. I think, Jersey kid, I think all that makes sense for all the reasons Ethan illustrated too, which is it's the most Knicksian thing to do is to bring the kid from Jersey
People will
there.
show up to watch him.
They did it with Marbury. They'll do it with him.
Yeah, but Kyrie is a couple levels above Stephon Marbury. Stephon Marbury was a great physical talent, but in regards to skill set, he was never Kyrie. He just wasn't. And there may be a couple of cats that try to argue with me. Mentally, he's nowhere near Kyrie. Physically, yes, and one could contend that physically, Marbury at his peak was even at a higher level than Kyrie Irving, but mentally not even close. Skill-wise, not particularly close.
And look, they can create some potential flexibility if they trade some pieces to potentially pair him with someone else that's not just Porzingis.
Well, what's in it for Kyrie other than New York? I mean, we saw when he made that list, I thought it was really interesting when he was on the block, right? San Antonio was on that list.
Right.
Why? Because it was an organization that would take care of him.
Minnesota was on that list because Jimmy Butler, right? Which is another potential free agent. So I think we'll get to that because I think that can say some of the stuff or give us some of the answers to what we're looking for here. The forecast has Butler joining the Knicks as well, followed by the Lakers, T-Wolves, amongst 11 teams who received votes for Jimmy Butler. So, Kevin?
I have no idea how much cap space the Knicks have, but if some way they could bring in Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, they would automatically become the favorite in the Eastern Conference. But I'm pretty sure that they don't have enough cap space to bring in 3 players that will receive max contracts. So basically, if you're a New Yorker, potentially you're looking at a team that has Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, and Kristaps Porzingis. Would that be enough to win in the Eastern Conference? I think that will put them right there with any other team in the Eastern Conference.
Evan, do you believe Butler could end up with the Knicks if you don't think Kyrie will be there?
Nah.
All right.
Oh, you know
You're
what?
striking out, Knicks, according to Arnovitz.
All right, so my favorite cultural fit, even though they have a ton of guys who have player options, so they're not going to be able to fit him, and you're going to like to hear this, I love Jimmy Butler as a Miami Heat.
Oh, I think that's a
Just
possibility.
culturally, I mean, they'd have to get off a lot of those salaries if they just don't have the room and they're carrying a lot of salary. I just like it as a cultural fit. He's kind of perfect for them.
Well, and Dwayne Wade, if he comes back to play for one more season, I can see him and Jimmy are very close. I can see that kind of being an alliance, at least to help him get there potentially.
Right, but the Miami Heat right now, they have a very strange mix. I'm on record as stating that had they been able to bring back LeBron, that would have been the perfect mix for LeBron, because they could have brought in LeBron and he would not have had any other players that would have been fighting him for shots. And they have a roster of guys that are in great condition and love to play defense. They could have hit LeBron James on defense. But I don't think that Jimmy Butler is good enough to fill that role, that niche, that LeBron James would have filled had he went back to the Miami Heat. I don't view Jimmy Butler as an alpha. I think that he would be perfect paired alongside with a Kyrie Irving and a Kevin Durant as that third guy who's willing to guard the opposing team's best wing. But once again, I'm not quite sure if the Knicks have enough cap space to have 3 top-level players like that.
Miami may have some pieces that teams may want, right? Maybe more so than the Knicks would. I still think Kyrie...
Oh, I'm looking in the lower left. Jimmy Butler on Twitter stating that he liked somebody's comment, Jimmy to the Spurs. All these players act like they want to play for the Spurs, but it never happens. Ain't that a bitch?
Kyrie and Jimmy end up in New York together because I do think they want to play together.
I don't feel like I have a good read on Jimmy Butler personally. There's a number of teams I think that you could put out there that make sense for him, and he's one of those guys of what do you want? What do you want in a franchise? Do you want to be the face? Do you want market? Do you want winning?
I think that the problem that Jimmy Butler has is that he has an alpha personality, but he does not have an alpha skill set. He's more of a second guy on a championship level team. What he does have is elite level conditioning.
What are the things that you're looking for? And I don't know that I have a great feel for that.
Right.
He's been in the big market in Chicago, and he was the face of a franchise. He's been in Minnesota, where they're a better team, maybe, and they have an opportunity to win this season. I've got him as the Knicks.
You could look at Jimmy talking to Andrew Wiggins there. Andrew Wiggins just don't have it. He's one of those guys that has all the physical ability in the world, but he just does not have the motor.
I don't even really like what I've even read. I don't know. I don't know who I like.
He wants structure.
Yeah.
He is
Miami will
type
give him
A
that.
perfectionist structure guy and wants serious team.
Yeah, Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley.
Right, we don't believe in the Wolves that much. We got nothing for the incumbents.
Nope.
I mean, they've got a pretty good core out there. I know he's a little bit cantankerous with his comments, but they couldn't woo him back.
No, he hates those guys clearly.
Okay,
Yeah.
boom.
I mean, I'm just speculating, but it's
Sorry,
pretty
but
obvious he
Minnesota.
hates.
And you don't like the weather anyway.
I don't like
That's
the weather.
true.
And I will say it is nice that they built all this tunneling system there, so you don't actually have to interact with it. But that's all.
Just to answer his question, I don't think that there's any way that the Wolves are going to bring back Jimmy Butler, because I think that he detests that entire environment. I don't think that he likes the city. I don't think that he likes most of his teammates. I believe that he views Karl Anthony Towns as a soft-ass pretty boy, very talented, but he's soft. And you have players like that come through the NBA. Very talented, but seemingly soft. And to be quite frank with you, Karl Anthony Towns has not embraced his talent level. Just as far as pure talent, he's right up there with anybody in the league. Pound for pound, he might be the most talented player in the entire NBA. He's 7 feet, and he could shoot three-pointers and free throws better than Joel Embiid or Anthony Davis. So really what he's missing is that aggression. Is that something that can be taught or that you can learn over the course of your career? We're going to find out with Karl Anthony Towns. In regards to Andrew Wiggins, Andrew Wiggins is all over the place. I'm trying to think of who he reminds me of. This guy is like a 45-inch vertical, long wingspan. He just has no motor whatsoever.
That's also maybe an indicator that's not the warmest place in the world.
Best summer city in America, though.
Really? Above Chicago?
Chicago.
Oh, I don't know if I buy
You don't have to deal with Chicago. It's great.
Oh.
At Kevin Arnovitz. All right, moving to the Bay Area. As financial decisions come for the Warriors. First, Two-time reigning Finals MVP Kevin Durant, who the forecast has staying in Golden State with the Knicks in second. Royce, will KD...
If KD resigns with the Warriors after this season, he will most likely end his career with somewhere around 5 or 6 championships. If he leaves and goes to the Knicks and joins with Kyrie and or Jimmy Butler, I could see him possibly winning one more championship. I think that whether or not he goes back to the Warriors won't particularly depend on or be dependent on if they win the championship. At first I said to myself, well, if they win the chip, the Warriors I'm talking about at the end of this season, this would really provide KD with a proper springboard. But I think that he's accomplished so much while he was there that if they were to lose for some unforeseen reason, particularly if they were all healthy and got to the finals and lost to the Celtics, what does he do then? Does he come back to a Warriors team where the consensus belief all across the NBA is that he's been leeching off of their greatness anyway, or does he finally say to himself, I might as well go somewhere else. I already have 2 rings. We lost a 7-game series to the Celtics, so we're not even the best team anymore. So I might as well find my own fate somewhere else. So I think that it's a good possibility that KD is going to leave after this season, but we'll see. If he decides to stay, once again, he's going to end his career with at least 5 championships, because I see that Warriors team winning at least 2 more championships, not even counting this up-and-coming season. Because all those guys are turning 30 this year. Steph just turned 30 earlier this year. So they're entering their overall prime mentally. They're in their physical prime, but they're starting to enter their mental prime. So if he resigns with the Warriors, they're going to win at least 2 to 3 more championships, counting the one that they should win this season.
Will KD stay in Golden State and open up the new Chase Center in 2019?
Here's why I think he does, is that I think the summer forecast also predicts this. The Golden State Warriors are going to win a championship again.
Yeah.
And it seems unlikely to leave the opportunity to four-peat. And that's something that is very difficult to do.
Right.
Largely unprecedented in the NBA. And to me, I don't see Kevin Durant doing that. I don't believe Kevin Durant will finish his career with the Golden State Warriors. I believe...
That's my point. That's why I say at the end of this season, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I have a real good read on what Kevin Durant's going to do at the end of this season. But I think that whether they win or lose, it would certainly provide him with a proper avenue to leave. But if he does decide to re-sign, I just don't see anybody stopping the Warriors right now. The synergy that they have on that team, the talent level that they have on that team, the fact that they're all entering their mental prime, if you're the NBA, you're hoping that he leaves. And I think that's why there's been such a concerted effort by the liberal sports media to try to put thoughts in Kevin Durant's head to leave. Why is that also? Because the liberal sports media is trying to figure out how they could split the Warriors up so that they could help their booth hang, LeBron James, get at least 1 chip while he's in LA, and he knows that cannot happen while KD is still with the Warriors.
I believe that very strongly. He will go somewhere else. It's just a matter of when. And I think teams on that list would certainly be the Knicks. Look, I think he would have considered the Lakers this summer had LeBron not gone there.
Right.
And I think the Thunder are on that list. I think that eventually Kevin Durant, when he sits down and makes a decision, I think he will look at Oklahoma City again.
Ethan?
I mean, he does. I think the Chase Center point is a good point. You know, maybe you could say about him. He's going to want to open up that.
I just don't see Kevin Durant ever going back to OKC. At one point, I thought that it was a possibility that he might try to copy the LeBron James storyline, that arc, that career arc. But KD is not from the state of Oklahoma. At least LeBron James was from Ohio. So what really does KD owe the state of Oklahoma? What does he owe that city? And if he does go back to Oklahoma City, he's going to have to play under Russell Westbrook, who, before he left, at least one could claim that, at least to common perception, he was the alpha. Those of us who actually watched the games knew that Russell Westbrook was clearly the alpha in the offense because he was controlling the basketball and he took whatever shot he wanted. But if KD tries to go back there now, Russell Westbrook is definitively going to be the alpha. So it makes no sense for him to go back to, or even consider going back to Oklahoma City.
Up that ring Chase Center out there. He's too much of a coward.
There it is.
To go to New York.
Radio
trying
Ethan.
to win in the Big Apple. No, I think that is a little bit of a carrot right there. To be able to open that crown jewel that opulent new arena in the Mission Bay district of San Francisco, I think that's tempting. Even if the Warriors are maybe a little bit sick of winning, he's going to want to do that. So as much of the New York option as a real option, that's true. That's a true rumor, I guess we could call it. I think he sticks around. That's my take.
I'm with Royce in the sense that if they win again, and they are the favorites, he returns. If they lose, I could see him his eye wander.
Yeah.
Maybe even down here.
Yeah. Ooh. Really? Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Ooh, aggregate that.
I think.
I agree. If they lose, I think that there's a greater chance for him to leave. I think that even if they win, there's a chance for him to leave. If he does decide to resign, they're going to win at least 2 more championships. I will say right now, I agree kind of sort of with their graph. I will give it about a 55% chance that he resigns with the Warriors.
I think he sticks around for one more year to open that arena. But finally, speaking of Golden State, Klay Thompson is also a free agent. The forecast overwhelmingly has Klay staying in the Bay Area. Ethan.
Yeah, I actually think that the graph is a little bit too low on the Golden State Warrior end. I think that there's about a 90% chance that he resigns with the Warriors, and the other 10% will be the Lakers. If he goes anywhere else, I'd be shocked. Klay Thompson looks like he's very, very happy where he's at.
Is there any risk of Klay leaving despite the Warriors' payroll and luxury tax implications?
They might have to bring back Zaza Pachulia, his best friend on the team, maybe just as a coach to keep him happy. But look, Klay is a simple man. I think we all know this. He loves his dog. He loves to go fishing out there in the bay.
Don't forget he loves his Instagram thotties.
I don't think he necessarily yearns for this big upgrade. I think he likes being Klay Thompson and is quite satisfied being Klay Thompson. So I say stick.
The only mistake that the Warriors could make is if they take him for granted and they believe that there's no way that he's going to leave. That's one thing that people do in their everyday lives, not just their professional life, but in their personal life. They look at someone who's very content, very secure in who they are, and they take that person for granted. They say, oh, that person's not going anywhere. And they think that they can mistreat that person or maltreat that person. So hopefully the Warriors will not try that with Klay Thompson.
Say he sticks around.
Yeah, I think it's the Warriors. Look, are we to believe everything that he himself has said? He's made it very clear that he's very happy playing for the Warriors franchise. And I think we all make this kind of assumption. We do this all the time with players. Well, they were born here, or even in his case, where his dad played, so therefore he
still works, by the way.
Therefore, he must have to go play for them. These people are their own people. They make their own decisions. And if Klay Thompson's happy playing for the Warriors, I think he'll stay with the Warriors.
I can't find one compelling reason why he would leave unless you're somebody who believes that he wants to be the guy.
Well, I don't believe.
Yeah, I've never bought that one. I just don't believe that. That's more media nonsense.
I don't believe he wants to be the
And
guy.
I don't believe that.
I think he doesn't care about any of that stuff. But that's why I think that unless the Warriors, and maybe he is being honest with us where he'd take less to stick with the Warriors, I do think the Lakers have an outside chance because, look, he still has a place down here, right? He's building a new place, as my understanding as well. So I think that that's part of it. I think that maybe playing for the team that his dad played for would be something that maybe would interest him. I still think the Warriors are the clear favorite, but I think if anyone has an outside chance, it would be the
Here's the question, Ethan. If the Warriors had to hardball one of these guys, because luxury tax implications pop up to such a degree, who's the guy they hardball?
I mean, it might be Draymond.
Really? Because Klay seems to be the guy that's, as great as he is, might be the most replaceable. You can find 3-and-D guys as opposed to Draymond at that.
Well, let's get an understanding on something. Klay Thompson is not just a regular quote-unquote 3-and-D guy. Klay Thompson is the guy that you can put on the opposing team's best wing, even the opposing team's point guard. This guy guards Chris Paul. He guards Kyrie Irving. Now, those are players that are relatively unstoppable offensively, but he does about as good a job as anyone could expect a shooting guard to do on players of that caliber, of that offensive repertoire. Beyond that, Klay Thompson is not just a regular 3 guy. This is a person who can score 60, 70 points in a game.
At that position,
I guess I'm
can
still
find
in that
guy.
opulent, decadent Warriors thinking of we want Anthony Davis next. So I was thinking in terms of that.
Okay.
So I was thinking in terms of that whole chase. But which guy you hardball? Maybe you do try to squeeze Klay. It's not a bad option. But I'm thinking about what you were saying about the Lakers. I've seen Klay around his dad. I'm not saying he doesn't love his dad, but he's like a sulky teenager around his dad. I can't imagine that he would want his dad in his ear every single day.
Well,
I agree with that. Klay Thompson comes off to me as more of a free spirit, as someone who wants to outdo his dad rather than go play for the team that his dad played for.
Well, that's happening regardless, whether
That's
he's in
happening,
LA or he's at
or,
Golden State.
like over the airway.
Driving home from games together and thinking that was a bad shot.
I just think that's a factor we consider the LA move, that I don't necessarily think that Klay yearns to be around his dad every day. Not that he doesn't love him,
Right.
but maybe not every day.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that Michael's a reason he'd come. I just think the Lakers are a reason he'd want to come.
That is not a franchise that is going to have to worry about monetary resources.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, even...
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see what happens in this up-and-coming 2019 NBA offseason. So peace.